Now that the ink is dry on the Disney/Fox deal, it seems like the MCU will likely become much more MCU-tent friendly when Charles Xavier and his unruly teens hit the silver screen. Who knows when they might actually appear, but however it happens, it's going to be a big event. Yet, while Marvel is likely rubbing their hands together with glee at the thought of all that sweet Cyclops and Wolverine cash, there are so many other mutants which are soon to be at their disposal that could really net them a tasty morsel of green. So what we're going to do today is unearth some of these forgotten sons of the House of M so that we might make the, other House of M some cold hard cash. I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 little known X-Men who could make Marvel millions. Number 10, Bishop. Okay, admittedly this is a bit of a cheat as he's already appeared in Days of Future Past, but that was little more than a cameo, and by cameo I mean that he showed up and then died. Which is a real shame as his origin story is tailor-made for a new foray into the X-Men which Disney and Marvel are now sure to be plotting. As revealed in the comics and the brilliant animated series in the 90s, Bishop was raised and looked after by a mutant called the Witness who had, quite fittingly, witnessed the X-Men being betrayed all those years ago. Now using this information, Bishop zips back in time and tries to make things better, but unfortunately due to some convenient amnesia, he forgets and decides that Gambit is the traitor and goes on a bit of a rampage. Now this story would be a perfect jumping off point for the rebooted X-Men, and by focusing on Bishop's quest to uncover the truth, could see Disney and Marvel being able to lay the foundations for a multi-movie spanning arc. Number 9, Firestar. Angelica Angel Jones didn't have the easiest path before she joined the X-Men. In fact, before she became a teacher for the good guys in 2013, she was part of the Hellions, that brainwashed mutant army that gets churned out by the Massachusetts Academy. Now, eventually, she would break her programming before heading off to a better life, and it's this story that would make a great adaptation for the silver screen, as it covers all the basics of a great narrative, an exploration into another side of the X-Men world, familiar characters and villains like Emma Frost, and best of all, the narrative weight of seeing the light and turning sides to help fight for mutant and mankind alike at the end. Plus, can you imagine a throwdown with the White Queen? That would be outstanding. Plus, it would actually lead the way to Firestar maybe becoming part of the Avengers, something which has actually happened in the past in the comics. Number 8, Mero. A former Morlock and leader of their Splinter Cell Gene Nation, Mero would eventually join the X-Men seeking redemption. This would be the perfect jumping off point to introduce not just her, but the underground dwellers that make up the rest of the Morlocks as well. And it's the Morlocks that could so easily be used to create a rich narrative thread in the new movies, as Fox, it's failed to mention them at all, and they are a huge factor in the comics. Plus, Mero herself is a force to be reckoned with in terms of storytelling weight, as she was part of the Weapon X program, which could see a crossover between her and Wolverine or even Deadpool. In fact, you get a glimpse of a mutant that might well be Mero in one of the scenes. Plus, the fact that she's been part of X-Force as well could see her team up with the Pool once more. And if that's not enough, she's even crossed paths with Spider-Man and even Galactus in the comics at one point, so that's not too shabby, right? Number 7, Siren. Another character with a small cameo already under her belt in X2, Teresa Cassidy would be an excellent addition to the X-Men. Bringing Siren into the fold would also allow Sean Cassidy, aka Banshee, to take his rightful place within the team. Now, her story could tell of a father figure turning villain in the guise of Black Tom, who raised the Cassidy kids and also hangs out with heavy hitters like the Juggernaut. Not a nice crowd there, Vicar. And the Cassidys have been involved in numerous high-profile X-Men storylines in the comics, and Marvel could easily wow fans with tales such as the Messiah Complex or Divided We Stand. Now, Siren is an important and completely underutilized aspect of the X-Men movie universe so far, so why not start things off with a scream that will sure to be turn heads and offer up a movie with her as the lead or as part of X Factor. Number 6, Kid Omega. Quentin Quire is an Omega-level mutant who, if handled correctly, could become the perfect anti-hero to fill the void left by Wolverine's departure. And I do say that with a heavy heart, because while Hugh Jackman was almost purpose-built to become Wolverine, chances are he's not going to be coming back. Now, Quentin, in the comics, is, how best to describe him? He's kind of an absolutely annoying D-bag sometimes, but if handled correctly could carry a wry sense of wit that is essential when building fan support in movies. Plus, any film that he's in essentially writes itself, because as the head of the Omega Gang, this overblown and overconfident kid could rebel against the teachings of Xavier and his peers and take on the X-Men and mankind itself before realizing the error of his ways and returning to the main fold or splitting off to form Generation X, and that would mean even more movies. Number 5. Sunfire. Another member of the X-Men who's also spent his time with the Avengers, Shiro Yoshida has been in pretty much every X-Men adaptation yet, save for live action. Now, this Japanese-American mutant has the ability to absorb solar radiation and turn it into plasma blasts, and is incredibly popular with comic book readers, so it makes perfect sense to utilize this upswing and plant him within a group, or even as a standalone movie. Plus, it's a great way to usher in another fan favorite in the form of Gambit, who has had frequent crossovers with Sunfire throughout the comics. We've seen the likes of Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange show that Marvel can make superpowers and magic look exceptional, so it stands to reason that Sunfire could and would look amazing in live action. Plus, I mean, imagine everyone's favourite Cajun crawdaddy and this sunbeam tearing up the town together. Absolute bliss if you ask me. Number 4. Jubilee. Now, it's kind of a real shame to remember that most of Jubilee's live-action interpretation is just lying on a cutting room floor somewhere after her scenes were axed from X-Men Apocalypse, but there is still hope for the chili fry-eating mole rat. Despite being extremely underutilized in films and even worse in the Generation X TV movie, Jubilee has a rabid fan base. Maybe because of her being a main player in the animated TV series, or maybe just because some of her comic storylines have been completely off the wall. Either way, it would be foolish for Disney and Marvel to look a gift horse in the mutant mouth, and why not cash in on that fan base and make her the central role in a new X-Men origin film? I mean, retell the animated series with Jubilee as our point of introduction. That was why she was created in the first place. There we'd get to see glimpses of tons of important X-Men characters without them having to eat up too much screen time, and better yet, might also be able to offer glimpses into who else might get their own films. Every new franchise needs a linchpin, and this could very well be that for the X-Men. Number 3. X-23. Now, there are some mighty big shoes to fill with the absence of Wolverine now that Logan is done and dusted. However, X-23 was handled so well in that film that it's almost perfectly set up for the heir to the throne to charge off into her own series of films. And if you think about it, Disney and Marvel have two choices with this. Either directly carrying on the timeline and have X-23 go through with her trials and tribulations of balancing anger with power, or they could cash in on a huge factor surrounding this character, and that is that to the general public, they still don't know that much about her. With this in mind, they could tell an origin story of her escape, or they could dive into one of the many rich storylines that she's been involved in and have her leave the X-Men behind and slot directly into Marvel's current MCU projects. I say this because X-23 has had encounters with the Shi'ar, an alien race that dominates Marvel's intergalactic space alongside the Kree and the Skrulls. As such, it wouldn't be too much of a push to see a potential team-up with the Guardians of the Galaxy or other spacefaring heroes. Plus, I mean, just thinking about her and Drax teaming up to stab everything is too good not to happen, right? Number 2. Rachel Summers. The fact that Scott Summers and Jean Grey's child has never been represented in films just proves how much Fox has dropped the bloody ball. A mutant with immense power, the woman who would be Phoenix would be a fantastic addition to any X-Men squad. Now, if they were to bring her into the fold, then it would be interesting to see if both her mother and father were still alive and members of the X-Men, or if they'd both been done in harder than your mother did me. I mean, seriously, I need some Wolverine healing on my junk after that. Also, that's my very sore one per list. Now, it would make for a very strange dynamic if there was only one superpowered telepathic wonder, but it would also be a clever way for Marvel to have the torch be passed from the Fox films to something of their own creation. And number 1, North Star. How is it that we exist in a world where Pyro, goddamn Pyro, has appeared in X-Men films, but the actually brilliant North Star has not? It's a bloody travesty, but it is one that Marvel can fix. Now, he's a mutant who can fly at almost light speed, has superhuman stamina, endurance, and reflexes, and is basically poised to be a great central role in a future film. With a rich backstory and enough tales to fill a warehouse as well as 4 or 5 movies, North Star could be the breakout star if given the chance. And if they have to bring Wolverine back, then having him brainwashed by Hydra and then thrown into a fight to the death with North Star could make for must-see viewing. He would also make a perfect choice to fill Cyclops' shoes if the X-Men need a new leader. Plus, this all ties in nicely to a potential Alpha Flight spin-off should things go well. And fingers crossed, with this many mutants at their disposal, it will. And there we go, those were 10 lesser-known X-Men mutants who could make Marvel millions. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. But before we go, let's take a thread, a salient point that the X-Men all taught us as kids growing up, and that is that it is okay to be different. Don't let anyone put you down or tell you otherwise, okay? And whoever you are, whatever you're getting up to today, I wish you happiness, love, and respect, because you deserve all goddamn three of them. And if you're struggling with that, that's okay. Take time, recognize your goals, know what you can achieve, accept what you can't, and if you need help, remember, friends, family, and professionals in the support industry, they do want to talk to you, all right? Trust me, people care more than you realize. And if you want to talk about this or anything else, you can go follow me at RetroJ over on Twitter. I've been Jules, you have been awesome, never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!